All right, for today, let me start by reminding you guys of an acronym. I called it last time, SO CAH TOA. And remember what that stood for was sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. The same time, last week I came over and I said, well, we're gonna start labeling a corner. Let's take a look at number A. We're going to start labeling a corner by an angle. In this case, I have a number. I don't have theta this time. I have a number. And based on that, I know that the biggest side is what we call the hypotenuse. So x is my hypotenuse. Remember, hypotenuse is opposite. That means far away from the 90-degree angle. That's how I can easily find the hypotenuse. Now, from the angle, the side that is far away from 35 degrees, in this case, is opposite. Based on SOH CAH TOA, I know I'm going to be using sine because I have O and H. The way I know whether I'm going to use sine, cosine, or tangent, I see the two sides that are given, O and H, and I ask myself, is that sine, is that cosine, or is that tangent? In this case, O and H is sine. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to write sine of 35 degrees is equal to, I know it's opposite over hypotenuse. So I'm just going to go 17 over x. Now, if the x was on top, if I had x over 17, multiply both sides by 17 and you get x by itself. If the x was on top. Now, because it is not on top, I'm actually going to see this as two fractions equal each other. And I know when I have two fractions equal each other, I cross multiply. So I have that x times sine of 35 is equal to 17. Right, cross multiply. X times sine of 35 is equal to 17 times 1. Now I'm going to say that x is equal to 17 divided by sine of 35. All right, so what is that? Let me get a calculator in this case. I'm just going to type this in. I'm going to go 17 divided by, now I'm going to use my function. I'm going to use sine of 35. Actually, let me do this again. 17 divided by, to tell the calculator I'm actually going to do separate things. I'm going to use parentheses. And I have to type in my case, I have to type in the angle first on the number 35 sine. Close parentheses. Now that 0.57, that is what sine of 35 is. So in order for me to know how much is 17 divided by sine of 35, I'm going to press the equal sign and I get 29.63. I have to complete the measurement of each triangle, so I'm going to go for the nearest tenth. So one decimal place, I'm going to say this is 29.6. I'm going for the nearest tenth, one decimal place. All right, let's take a look at question number 2. Just from the get-go, I am expecting this number to be less than 17, right? X looks less than 17. So let's see what I have. I don't have the hypotenuse in this case. From 19 degrees, I have the opposite and the adjacent. Let me remember SOH CAH TOA. And I'm asking sine, cosine, or tangent. One of them has O and A. Now, in this case, I'm going to be using tangent. So let me write this as tangent of 19 is equal to x over 17. Because my x is on top, to get rid of the fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by 17. So I have that 17 times tangent of 19 is equal to x. Let me figure that out. Let me get my calculator out. So I'm just going to go 17 times. Remember, in my case, in my calculator, I have to press 19 first. 19 and then tangent. on your calculator, you might have to press tangent first and then 19. Now that 0.344, that is tangent of 19. I'm interested of 17 times tangent of 19. So I'm going to press the equal sign. Don't forget the equal sign. So I'm going to press equal, and it gives me 5.85. Rounded to one decimal place. So I'm going to say that x is equal to 5.9. Right, that 5 is big enough, so it pushes the 8 to a 9. So 5.9. Whenever you type it, you don't have to type in x equals. Just type in 5.9. All right, let's move on to question number 3. To not get confused, let me change this to blue. I want to see the 75 degrees is this corner. So I have the hypotenuse, and I have the opposite. O and H, I'm going to be using sine. So I'm just going to say that sine of 75 degrees is equal to 19 over x. Let me multiply the x on both sides. So I have that x times sine of 75 is equal to 19. To get the x by itself, let me divide both sides by sine of 75. All right, so I need to figure out what's 19 divided by sine of 75. Go 19 divided by, in my case, I had to press in 75 first, and then sine. Don't forget the equal sign at the end. 19.67. So I'm going to call that 19.7. Using our logic, the hypotenuse is the biggest number. The side that I was given, it was 19. I expected my hypotenuse to be bigger. 19.7 sounds about right. Let's take a look at question number 4. Let's see the sides that we have. I have the hypotenuse, and I have the adjacent. So I'm looking for sine, cosine, or tangent. The one that has A and H is cosine. So I'm just going to be using cosine of 29 degrees. Remember, it's always sine, cosine, tangent of the degrees. So cosine of 29 degrees is 16 over x. Let me multiply both sides by x to get rid of the fractions. So I have that x times cosine of 29 is equal to 16. Now let me divide by cosine of 29. So I have that x is equal to 16 divided by cosine of 29. Let me figure what that is. So I'm going to go 16 divided by cosine of 29 equals. As a matter of fact, you should be able to see on the screen exactly what you typed in. You see how I have 16 divided by, it says cosine of 0 of 29. Ignore that little o because it's talking about degrees. So cosine of 29. So 16 divided by cosine of 29, rounded to one decimal place. I'm going to call this 18.3. Right? The 9 pushes the 2. So 18.3.